So welcome everybody. Good morning. Can everybody on Zoom hear me okay and see me? Yeah, okay, great. So good morning. Thank you for joining today for this meditation by Lama Zopa Rinpoche that he gave many years ago in 1973. The transcript is online, which I can share later also, and I'll basically be reading it out as a guided meditation. But before that, we're just going to start as we always do by settling our bodies into a comfortable posture with our legs either crossed or planted on the floor if we're sitting on a chair, and our backs straight and tall, as if each bone in our spine is stacked onto each other in a tower, straightening it as though we were being pulled up by a string from the top of our heads. And at the same time, just relaxing. And our heads are tilted slightly downwards so that we can look in front of us at the floor about 2 meters ahead. Our hands are in our laps, our elbows relaxed at our sides. Or if you like, you can put your hands on your knees like this. And your eyes very gently closed or slightly cracked open to allow a little bit of light in, especially if it's morning and we've just woken up and we want to stay a little bit alert. We can just crack our eyes open very slightly to allow some light in. And with our bodies settled like this, comfortably yet strongly and straight, firm, but also relaxed. We now begin with our motivation for this session. We've all come here from different lives, different worlds, for different reasons. We've maybe come to learn something new, to settle our minds on this Sunday, to bring some calm into our minds for the week ahead. Maybe to be more aware of our minds. We all have different reasons for why we are here today. And so we also want to remember that all sentient beings also seek what we are seeking: mental calm, peace, happiness, lasting happiness. Every other sentient being, just like you, is seeking these things. We are lucky enough to have access to these tools, to this wonderful Tushita center, where we can practice, where we can go deeper in our minds and cultivate this peace within us to help us live our lives better. And so we dedicate the session, our efforts here today, to the benefit of all sentient beings who are stuck in samsara, who may not have access to these things, to these teachings, who may not have the chance in life to meditate, the time, the money, the resources. We dedicate our practice and our efforts to all beings. And we end with gratitude that we have the opportunity in this lifetime to meet the teachings and to practice them. So that is our motivation for today. And we can gently open our eyes now that we are here together in the space or on Zoom. Welcome, everybody. So for those of us who are maybe new to the center, new to meditation, I just want to briefly explain what a motivation is, why we do this motivation before every session. And you'll notice Kyabje, who will be back from Tuesday in Delhi, for those who have been asking. You'll notice every session we start with a motivation, and that's because a motivation is like plowing a field before you plant seeds. It's like fertilizing the soil. So if we plant seeds if we try to plant seeds in concrete or in dried out soil, we're not going to get any flowers or any fruits from those seeds. Nothing is going to grow from them. We need to fertilize the soil first. We need to water it. We need to tend to it and prepare it. And then we can plant the seeds in that fertile soil, and that will allow strong, healthy plants, flowers to grow from it. And so motivation is like fertilizing the soil before we begin our meditation or our practice, so that we can then plant beautiful flowers and seeds in that soil. And um, so I mentioned the beginning, but I think some more people have trickled in. So today we're going to be doing a guided meditation called the Mahayana Equilibrium Meditation that was given by Lama Zopa Rinpoche in Kopan Monastery in Nepal, Kathmandu, in 1973. So a long, long time ago. And I'm going to be reading it out as a guided meditation. So we'll be doing this practice as a guided meditation. And I will also record it in case people want to use it again and practice it again, because it is only available as a transcript form on their archive, the Lama Yeshe archive, which some of you may know already. So I will share the audio version later so you guys can listen to it again if you want to practice it again. So just before we begin, if you are a beginner in meditation, if this is like your first, second, third time meditating, or you are new or not very comfortable yet with meditation, I just want to give a little bit of preface. So this is a little bit of a longer meditation. And so if during the session you start to feel discomfort, maybe your legs will fall asleep, maybe your back will feel pain. If you start to feel discomfort and you really can't stand it, you do not have to force yourself to continue staying in the posture, because this is a little bit of a longer session involving visualization and contemplation. And so if you start to feel discomfort, and this goes for beginners and practice students alike, we all have times where our leg falls asleep, or we accidentally don't sit in our most comfortable posture. So or maybe we just woke up, slept in an odd way, and we have a chink in our necks. And so if you start to feel any physical discomfort that becomes really unbearable and you feel like you have to move. Sorry? I can move this a little bit away. Is this better? A little bit? Is it echoing? Yeah, okay. This might be a little better. Is this better? Yeah, I'm a little bit like plugged in here, so I can't really move. But is it fine for you guys? It's okay? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it might echo a little bit because it's a small room, so it might echo a little bit. Maybe if you try coming a little bit closer. Okay, okay, okay. So, yeah, if you start to feel discomfort, advice that Thich Nhat Hanh gives is, when you are in meditation and physically you feel like you need to adjust a little bit, maybe move your leg and because it's fallen asleep, or even for people who practice daily, if you need to swallow saliva, for example, that comes in your mouth, or just stretch your back for a second, we do so very mindfully, with mindful awareness. So instead of just jerking out of the meditation, if we feel like, we think very consciously, okay, my leg is falling asleep, I need to adjust it. And very mindfully, you can slowly just move your leg ahead or wherever you need to move it. Or if you need to just adjust your back very slowly, very mindfully, you can just adjust your back and return to your posture. And he describes it, Thich Nhat Hanh describes it like a bird adjusting its wings in flight. When it's flying and the wind changes a little bit, or it needs to change direction very lightly, it just adjusts its feathers and continues flying in its path. And so we can keep that in mind when we, in this meditation, and any meditation, if we need to adjust physically, very mindfully and with awareness, we can adjust. If you feel like at some point you want to just, your legs are totally asleep and you want to move them, you can also just remember to keep your eyes closed, and you can continue listening also. And after a few minutes, if you want to give yourself a few minutes, then you can return back into the posture, whatever you feel comfortable with. This is just some advice for people who haven't really meditated much yet, or who are new. And so, yeah, that's all. And I will now begin the meditation. Let me just, yeah, okay. Is this better on Zoom? Is this okay? Just make sure my microphone is. Okay, you may need to turn up your volume on your system. Is everybody else, can everybody else hear okay on Zoom? Or are other people also having issues? Any feedback or thumbs up? No issues. You can also try connecting headphones. If you have headphones like this, that will help. Okay, so we're going to return to our postures that we were just in. With a straight back, yet relaxed at the same time. And pull your chest a little bit outwards. Feel confident in your posture. Your head tilted a little bit down. And you can have your eyes slightly cracked open or closed as you wish. We keep our eyes slightly cracked open to stay alert in our meditation. And also just to keep a little bit of engagement with the world instead of having our eyes fully shut. But as I said, whatever feels more comfortable to you. And finally, once your body is settled, just put a little smile on your face. And you'll find that it relaxes the muscles in your face immediately. Sometimes we don't realize that our jaw is clenched or our eyebrows are tight. If we just give a tiny smile before we start, then we can feel fully relaxed. We begin with just 1 minute of samatha meditation, which we discussed last time, which is just mindfulness of your breath. We're settling the mind in its natural state by focusing on our breath, watching it come in and out through our nostrils or watching the abdomen as it moves in and out, just for a minute. Watching our breath. And now visualize that you are surrounded by all sentient beings, with your mother seated to your left and your father to your right. In front of you, visualize an enemy, someone who dislikes you or wishes to cause you harm. And behind you, place your dearest friend, the person to whom you are most attached. And somewhere on the side, visualize a stranger, someone for whom your feelings are neutral. These 5 people around you. Now think, there is no reason at all for me to be attached to and help my friend, or to hate and harm my enemy. If I were to strive only for my own self-peace, there would be no reason for me to have been born human. Even as an animal, I could strive for this. The various animals have the same aim as many highly educated people, self-happiness, and also to create many negative actions such as fighting with and destroying enemies, cheating others with political mind, and so forth, all in the pursuit of their own happiness. There is almost no difference between them except their shape. The main purpose of my having been born human is to strive for and achieve higher aims, to bring every sentient being everlasting happiness. This is something no animal can ever do. Just as I wish to avoid suffering and find happiness, so too do all other sentient beings. Therefore, I and other sentient beings are all equal. And there is no logical reason for me to care more about myself than others, or to harm enemies or any other sentient being. For countless rebirths, I've been discriminating other beings as friend, enemy, stranger, with the self-I consciousness. Chandrapiti said, when there is self-I consciousness, there is discrimination of other. From discriminated partisanship between self and other, attachment and hatred arise. All misfortune arises from acting under the influence of these negative minds. The self-I consciousness causes attachment to self, which produces attachment to my own happiness. The entire range of negative minds arises from this. Anger is caused by greed and self-attachment, which makes me discriminate against whoever disturbs my happiness, which produces the enemy. Attachment creates the friend who helps and determines the enemy who hinders. Ignorance labels those who neither help nor hinder as strangers. Anger makes me hate and harm the enemy. Attachment makes me cling to and help the friend. And ignorance makes me see the stranger as having a permanent self-nature. By acting under the influence of these negative minds, I lead myself into difficult and suffering situations. Attachment creates danger and suffering for myself and others. The whole earth is in danger of exploding. Attachment offers no peace and brings only suffering. Since beginningless time, the two negative actions of helping out of attachment and harming out of anger have thrown me into samsaric suffering, making it impossible for me to achieve the perfect peace of liberation and enlightenment. Negative actions leave negative imprints on the consciousness. These ripen into endless experiences of suffering. If I continue to behave in this way, I will experience the same suffering over and over again for eons and will never receive any realizations or enlightenment itself. The three objects of friend, enemy, and stranger are false and have been labeled incorrectly for extremely temporal reasons. The current friend, enemy, and stranger have not always been friend, enemy, and stranger in my countless lives. Even the enemy of last year can this year become my friend, and yesterday's friend can become my enemy today. It can all change within an hour, and so does attachment to food, clothing, reputation. It can all change overnight. A scripture says, if you try for a moment to befriend an enemy, he will become your friend. The opposite occurs if you treat a friend like an enemy. Therefore, the wise, understanding the impermanent nature of temporal relationships, are never attached to food, clothing, or reputation. Lord Buddha said, in another life, the father becomes the son, the mother the wife, the enemy becomes a friend. It always changes. In cyclic existence, nothing is certain. Therefore, there is no reason to be attached to friends or to hate enemies. If the ignorant self-I conception and its objects were true, the three designations of friend, enemy, and stranger should have existed from countless previous lives and should continue to exist through the present and beyond. This makes complete no sense of the concept of enlightenment, since the Buddha's sublime enlightened mind is completely free of the delusions and imprints that create such distinctions. Out of his compassion, Lord Buddha taught the equilibrium meditation so that I too may become free of delusions, imprints, and ignorant discrimination. The concepts of friend, enemy, and stranger are false because they and their basis are totally illusory. There is no I concept. My problems are not created by the enemy, but by myself. They are the result of my own negative habits of my mind. Lord Buddha said, in previous lives, I have killed all of you before, and you have all slaughtered me. Why should we now be attached to each other? Chandrakirti said, it is foolish and ignorant to retaliate to an enemy's attack with spite in hopes of ending it, as the retaliation itself only brings more suffering. Therefore, there is no reason or benefit of retaliating. The enemy is actually my object of practicing patience, which helps me to overcome my anger. I should not hate this enemy who helps bring peace into my mind. The enemy is infinitely more precious than any material possession. They are the source of all my past, present, and future happiness. I should never hate the enemy who will provide me this peace. Any possession can be given up for this peace. For an enemy is my greatest need. It is the source of all beings' enlightenment, including my own. By practicing patience with the enemy, this is how I can attain enlightenment. The enemy is my most precious possession. From now on, I must never hate or harm the enemy or any other being. Enemy harming me mentally and physically is under the control of his negative mind. They are like the stick that someone is using to beat another. There is no reason to get angry or retaliate by harming the stick. It is not his fault, just as the pain I experience from being beaten by a stick is not the fault of the stick. If I had clear wisdom, I would see that harming others out of hatred is harming myself out of hatred. Of course, I should not harm others. All sentient beings, including our enemies, are the objects of Lord Buddha's compassion. The numberless Buddhas hold the enemy and all other beings so dear to their heart. Therefore, harming another, even slightly, is like harming the infinite Buddhas. Buddha always considers all sentient beings, including enemies, to be more important than himself. Mindlessly harming another for my own benefits is the act of a mind of stone. Enemy and all other sentient beings have been my mother countless times. The holy body, speech, and mind of the infinite Buddhas are servant to all beings, enemies included. Therefore, I must never give harm to any other being. Not harming my worst enemy, the ignorance in my mind, and destroying an outer enemy instead, is like killing a friend by mistaking him for the enemy. I should not harm the outer enemy, but the inner one, the actual cause of all my suffering. The enemy is merely a concept created by my hatred, just as friends and strangers are concepts created by my attachment and ignorance. I should not believe the distorted perceptions of my negative minds. Because of the transcendent realizations based on this equilibrium meditation, no bodhisattva would ever see another sentient being as an enemy. If I investigate with my wisdom eye, I will never find my attachment's friend or my hatred's enemy anywhere, neither inside nor outside their bodies. Wisdom tells me that these are merely names. For all these reasons, I can now clearly see how foolish I have been over beginningless lifetimes. If I could realize this equilibrium meditation, it would be my most priceless possession. Equilibrium brings peace not only to myself, but to all beings. Okay, that was good timing because that was the end of our meditation session. Try to, as you slowly become aware of your surroundings again, keeping your eyes closed still for a moment. See if you can carry whatever came up in that meditation session, that equilibrium. See if you can carry it with you as you become aware of the sounds around you, the voices, and as you slowly open your eyes also, as you become aware of the people around you, if any. See if you can carry that equilibrium with you as you return to your daily lives. So if we have any questions about the meditation, or any questions at all, you can try to take questions. I'll also share the recording of this audio on our WhatsApp groups in case you'd like to do the practice again. Even if you are just on the subway, the metro, and you just are listening to it on your way to work, it's a very beneficial practice. Equilibrium means being free of attachment to some and aversion to others. We're always pulled in one way or another, whether it's food or clothing or other people or places. And equilibrium means being balanced in the center, not being pulled by our minds in one way or another, being able to see things from a more peaceful and stable perspective. So are there any questions? So from Zoom, anybody? Well, I want to let you all go in this, still holding these feelings in the state of equilibrium. So we'll just do a short dedication of our practice today. It was a long practice, and so for those who are, for whom this was a little bit difficult, you can appreciate that you were here, you came to the session, and you at least heard this meditation, this precious meditation. And we can dedicate as a group whatever merit we have cultivated as a group by practicing this equilibrium meditation. We can dedicate it to all those who are trapped by their minds in attachment and aversion constantly, every day, every moment of the day, being pulled one way or another. And we can dedicate this to their awakening also, even if they don't have the opportunities we have or the chance we have to practice and to become aware of these tendencies of our minds. And we can pray that in future lifetimes they may come into contact with the teachings as we have. There is, of course, physical suffering everywhere in the world, but there is also mental suffering in every sentient being, animals, humans. And so we can dedicate today's session to the full awakening of all beings. And to bringing this practice into our daily lives so we can benefit at least the people around us and ourselves on a daily basis. Thank you.